All right. Welcome to our first of 3 videos to help you get ready to share your workshop with Tech Girls. I'm super excited to have Miss Fitz, Sarah Fitzhenry, with me because she knows all about especially being in online spaces and how you can build community. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Fitzhenry. Most people call me Miss Fitz. This is my cat Brian, who loves a good video chat or video event. So if you see an orange tail, that's because he just loves a webcam. And I have been teaching online and building community online through my job. I'm the coordinator of distance learning at a local school, and it's my job to help students feel included and connected and excited to learn, even if they're not physically on campus. So I'm really excited to share some of those techniques and help you get started doing an amazing workshop of your own where kids feel connected and happy to be there.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in. Here we go. So I just want to give a little bit of philosophy of Tech Girls and how we sort of run all our events, whether they're in person or online. Joanne Cahoon, who was a professor at UVA and really inspired me. She did all this work in studying why there weren't women in tech and things like that. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she wrote this tweet back in 2013 and it basically became the philosophy for Tech Girls. That if we want to recruit women students into computing, we need to spark their interest, build their confidence, nurture an inclusive community, and help them develop their own tech identity. So I took that into Tech Girls, and so sparking interest, there is so much out there related to computer science and STEM that nobody can know everything. And so there's so many different ways that we can help spark their interest and get them, thinking about, oh, I had never thought about doing something like that. Building their confidence. So role models have been found to be very important, especially for girls to be able to see themselves in technology and computing and STEM fields. And so that's another thing that you'll be providing. Not only are you providing a workshop, but you're going to be a role model. And then finally, building a sense of community. We really need these young women to have a sense of belonging in this space.
And for some girls, especially when we're talking about middle school age, this might not happen the first time. These are 3 really big goals, but creating a space where they feel like they can have fun and they're safe to make mistakes and where their role models notice if they're not there and notice about the things that they do. Those are things that are going to bring them back and make these goals more possible for them to reach with your help.
So as you're thinking about the workshop, we suggest that you start with the end in mind. What does a successful workshop look like to you? Maybe it's a web page got created. Maybe it's they learned this new, skill or tool that you think is really cool. Maybe they just had fun. Whatever it is, you want to start with that in mind. So the way a workshop kind of will look and what you're going to provide for us is an overview, just a little snapshot of what this workshop's about so we can put it in a description and, advertise it. You're going to think about 1 to 3 learning objectives that you want the girls to get out of this experience. You're going to pick a community building activity. You're going to pick an equitable teaching strategy, and we'll get into both of those a little bit more detail. You're going to provide a very high level description of what your activity is. And this is really a lot for you. So you can think about the timing and just think, okay, I'm going to teach this here. I'm going to let the girls have this much time to try stuff out. It may not work the way you laid it out, but at least you have a plan going in, which is super nice. And then think about, is there 1 to 3 like optional extension activities, especially if, for some reason a girl has a lot of experience in this thing. Is there some extra challenge that you can just have in your back pocket to be like, oh, okay, go try this. All right, so your dues for this particular section are to look at the workshop template. So we'll pull that up. So these are just some notes to think about. Be sure to introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself and what you do. Why are you passionate about what you're doing? Whether you're studying something or you're in the field already working. This is a way to make that connection and actually help the girls. Another important thing to do is help the girls see the real world connection, because just learning something cool for cool's sake, like, it's okay, but they really want to know, like, what is this what can this help me do in the real world?
Especially if you want to build a lasting spark and connection to it. A fun activity can be a one-off that gets them excited for that day, but something that connected to their real lives or something that they're passionate about can really build something that grows.
You're going to want to let the participants know what they're going to be learning and try to make it as interactive and participatory as possible. This doesn't mean they have to be building or creating or coding the whole time. It could be that they're designing something. It could be that, you know, they're doing brainstorming together, you're doing a Q&A, whatever, but just make sure that there's a lot of options for interactivity. Let's see, I talked about that. Oh yeah, important, if there is software or other things that you expect the girls to have for the workshop, first of all, we're gonna want you to let us know so we can give them that heads up ahead of time, and fingers crossed they get it all installed, but you'll definitely wanna find, you know, you'll have to leave some time for that as well. And remember that we need this to be very accessible. We're not gonna be able to use anything that costs money to install. And then, like I said before, you're going to have your, what is it called, and your overview. These are the two things that are going to go out publicly to let the girls know what's coming up. And then this is for your information, what your learning objectives are, the materials, the community building activity, the equitable teaching strategy, and then here's where you'll write your steps out. I'm going to come back to these, but I just quickly wanted to look at the example. So this is just so you don't get too intimidated. This is kind of what it looks like. So there's your overview. Here's the learning activities. This is a lot of learning activities. I'd probably trim this down for an hour and a half workshop. And I chose this equitable teaching activity. And then here's the outline for steps. So it's not hopefully too involved.
Yeah, and this page looks a lot different than what it would look like if they were building something with their hands, if they were writing something, if they were making music.
Correct.
So it doesn't have to look exactly like this.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to look a little bit at community building. There's going to be another video tutorial on equitable teaching strategies. That's the next thing, so we'll get into that later. But here are some, and we'll just keep adding to this. Oh, I did go to equitable teaching strategies. I did not mean to. Did I link the wrong thing? Oh. All right, what were you saying, Sarah?
I was just saying that that is a perfect example of how to stay calm and keep going when you link the wrong thing or go to the wrong page. It's gonna happen. And if you don't say anything about it or pretend that it's not happening, all of that community building that you've done is gonna go out the window. Showing your participants that you're human and saying like, I linked the wrong thing. That happens. Stick with me for a moment while I find the right page can go a long way. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. Just make it all a part of the experience.
Oh, see, I'm so glad I could demonstrate that for you.
It was definitely on purpose.
So these are a few community building activities that I have found and I've done myself and Sarah has done, and we're going to add a few more. I can tell you before I let Sarah go, I used to skip this part because I just wanted to get right to learning. Like to me, it was like, we need to learn stuff. I don't have time for this. And that's a mistake. And I learned that the very hard way. And you don't want to skip this part, even though it's going to be awkward and strange, especially online. It shows that you're invested in the participants.
Yeah. There's a few misconceptions about community building when it comes to an event that's not necessarily based on community building. There's the misconception that it's a time waster. And that is so untrue, especially when we're in this with Tech Girls. We're trying to show girls that they can be a part of a world that has kind of been closed to them. We're trying to invite them to try something new and to take risks. And that is impossible without some sort of connection. Participants need to feel safe. They need to know that the people around them are human. They need to understand that they can trust the people that they're working with in order to give them directions and to accept them even if they do something wrong. And community building is the secret to that. And another misconception is that community building can't happen online. And it is difficult, but it really, really can, especially these students have made the decision to come and join this workshop on purpose. They've registered, they want to be here. They are itching to make new friends and get to know you and to learn what they need to learn in order to be successful. So community building is necessary and it's important and it's fun if you do it right. It doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to take up a bunch of time or a bunch of your energy. It'll happen naturally once you get the ball rolling. And the best way to get the ball rolling is something that I call own it and ignore it. You are doing a workshop online when a lot of people might prefer to do a workshop in person. And as we're recording this in late December 2020, we're doing a workshop online because there's a pandemic happening. And so taking a moment to say, isn't it weird that we're online? This is kind of strange. It's not the way we're used to gathering, and just putting it out there. You'll watch your participants kind of go, oh, she knows it's weird. The elephant has been talked about. Like, we can keep going now. It diffuses the tension, and then you never have to bring it up again. You say that it's weird, you talk about how maybe you wish it was different, and then you can keep going. I find that that really sets a foundation for honesty and vulnerability, and knowing that although this isn't ideal, I know that, and we're here to make the best out of it anyway. It takes 2 minutes and it changes the tone of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So these activities, some of them will take longer, but we're suggesting, 10 to 15 minutes. And if you don't get to the whole thing, that's fine too. It can be just to get that sort of flow going. And people, again, it's going to be, like I think I said awkward. Like there's going to be some silence to start with, I think. And you just have to wait for like one person to help get the ball rolling, and then it'll go. So.
If you're willing to put yourself out there as the person who breaks the silence in the beginning, Kim and I love to start our events with dance parties, and not all of the participants dance, but we do. Start with a joke or a story. Bring your pet onto the screen. Nothing breaks tension like a pet on the screen. If you're willing to be a little silly and put yourself out there first, they'll follow you. You can set the tone when it comes to something like this.
And I do recommend that you try, one or two of these out ahead of time, so you're not going in cold with it as well. Yeah. Great. Well, so yeah, you're going to pick out an activity, and I'm going to fix the link so that'll work. And then your final thing to do is to reflect. And this could be on your workshop idea, or maybe you need to get ideas. You don't really have one yet. So this is going to be a Padlet where we start building up our workshop content. And so we'd love you to share ideas, even if you don't think you're going to do it. If you have a cool idea, add it here. If you've seen something, a link or something, add it here, and then other people might be able to take it. And then I've seeded this with some of the workshops that we've done in the past with this age group to kind of get you started. So that is it for part 1. We can't wait to have you back for the next couple of parts, and then to have you do your workshop.
Yay!